Hello, everybody. Welcome to Politics. I'm Sanel Ntimbu. And the reason I'm looking trusted today is because I just woke up, eh? I just woke up. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've actually made a video. So this is me making my return to active politicking, if if I may call it that. Yeah. So Southern politics is dominated by parties which lean towards the left. Socialist parties, left-leaning parties, depending on what you want to call it. So our politics are dominated by these parties, yeah. So before I explain what that means, what left-leaning, what socialism means, I would like to actually tell you which parties are actually falling under this criteria. So these parties are the ANC, the MK Party, the EFF, you have ATM, the PACD, and also Al-Jamaa. So these parties, if you look at last year's election results, they make up the lion's share of the vote. They, so yeah, they make up the lion's share of the vote, and that is where the majority of the voters are concentrated. They are concentrated towards those parties. Because the ANC, the MK, and the EFF alone, those three parties make up around 64% of the vote, not far from the two-thirds majority needed to change the constitution. So you can see that if these parties are united bloc, they would actually have a large degree of power, and they could literally do anything that they want because they would have the numbers. Yes. So some people, and this is what mainstream media says, they say that the 2024 elections was a turning point in South African politics. And I'm not disputing the ripple effect that the election had because the ANC losing its majority was a significant part in South African politics, yes, but also we must consider the fact that there was no there was no fundamental change in how the voters voted, because if the voters still voted the same way, they may not have voted for the ANC, but they chose to vote for the ANC policies, because the MK party is simply a satellite of the ANC, in my opinion, similar to the EFF. It is a satellite of the ANC. Because to me, the formula is simple. The ANC, the mother body, plus the MK party, plus the EFF equals to the ANC, because those parties are splinter parties of the ANC, and they advocate for similar policies, socialism policies, big governments, huge government intervention, huge government control over the economy and people's lives. They advocate for more government control, more welfare. So yes, they call it the developmental state. That is what they call it. And yeah. And also I must also be honest, I cannot call a party which advocates for the same policies as the ruling party or as the ruling government of the time as an opposition party. I cannot call a party which wants the same thing as the government, as a sitting government. I cannot call that party an opposition party, because if they were in government, the situation would be the same or even worse in this case. Because yeah, and if you are asking me what is wrong with left-leaning policies, what is wrong with the socialism policies, look at South Africa. That is what's wrong with these policies. Look at the past 30 years. That is what's wrong with these policies. Big government is what's wrong with these policies that they are forcing into South Africa. Yes, and also I'm gonna say it. These policies are bullshit, because that's what these policies are, and the people don't know that these policies are bullshit because they still vote for these policies. Because essentially, what left leaning socialism policies call for is they call for big governments. A huge government which has a huge degree of control in the economy and society. So you have a political party. In this case, we would have the EFF, ANC, or whatever. This party, which has a central authority, and the central authority controls the party, and the party controls the state, and the state controls society, the economy, and whatever. So, what is wrong with that is that these people who control the state, being the party, they are, in most cases, these people don't want what they preach for. These people preach for equality. They preach for solidarity, equality, but then their version of equality is making everybody poor and keeping themselves rich. That is their version of equality, keeping themselves rich and making everyone else poor. Because there is a phrase in which I heard before, which really describes the socialism bullshit very well, because it says, so the saying goes like, everyone is equal, but some people are more equal than others. Wow. And also, there's also this other saying which goes like, it's great, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money, which is true. You run out of the taxpayers' money. Yeah, because in your pursuit of really giving freebies to the masses, you eventually run out of the taxpayers' money. This is the problem with these policies. And when such parties are in charge of the government, inefficiencies happen, corruption happens, and yes, we have seen this for the past 30 years. They appoint their cadres, these communists appoint their cadres to top government positions. They appoint them to the public service, and our public service becomes efficient because also it's no longer about merit or who does the job the best, but it is about loyalty to the party. It's about loyalty to whoever is in charge of that party at whatever point, and that's the problem. And that's the problem. So if and also they protect each other. So if the comrade does something wrong, the comrade is going to protect their comrades. But that's the problem that we have. So you get people who are appointed to positions who are not qualified, who know nothing about that job, and who gets the job. But then when it's time for the results, they show nothing for the results. Look at our public service. Our public service is on its bloody knees because there are people in our public service who are not supposed to be there, but they are there because they are ANC members or are loyal to the ANC establishment. That is the problem with these policies and with these parties, because these parties prioritize loyalty to the party. They prioritize loyalty to whoever is in charge of the party. They prioritize that instead of prioritizing the best interests of the party. And it is no longer about the interest of the country, in which Jacob Zuma proudly said before that the ANC and loyalty to the ANC is more important than loyalty to the country. And that is the problem with these parties. And the problem that we have as well is that people are voting for these parties. They're voting for these parties and their stupid policies. Why do people vote for these parties? Why are people voting for the ANC and the EFF and the MK party? And and I think it's easy to really call South Africans stupid at some stage. Yeah, it's really easy to call and say South Africans are retarded, South Africans are dumb, they are voting for these parties. But the idea and and the truth is that South Africans are not stupid, but they are just ignorant and they are just ill informed. And also, the reason that they're voting for these parties is because they lacks a clear alternative. That's the reason that they're voting for these parties. They're voting for these parties it, because a clear alternative to these policies is lacking in South Africa. The only party, the only big party calling for a different establishment, calling for something different is the DA. But the problem with the DA is that the DA doesn't resonate with the rest of South Africa. The DA doesn't appeal to South Africans because of how the DA looks. The DA is a white party. The majority of the leadership in the DA is white. And South Africans vote based on race because of historical reasons. So the DA is not an option as an alternative to the ANC and its babies. So, so now the problem is that we lack a clear alternative. We lack a black party, a black-led party which has market-based policies, policies which will be able to get this economy growing, policies which will prioritize economic growth and job creation. We lack a black-led party which has those policies. Because the rest of the black parties, the big black parties, advocate for socialism. They advocate for bullshit ANC policies, but we are lacking black parties which advocate for market-orientated policies, policies which are proven to grow the economy. And the problem that we have is that the black parties in South Africa that we have advocate for bullshit policies. The ANC, the EFF, the MK party, black parties which advocate for bullshit policies. And also, some people would also say, what about Action SA? Action SA is also a party which you would say leans towards the right market orientation policies. But recently they look like they are ANC kiss asses as well because it seems as if they are also not a good alternative because they also have proven to be disloyal to their voters by keeping the ANC in power in cities like Tshwane and also Johannesburg as well. And also they've changed it too. This party said that they would never vote for the ANC, or rather, they would never vote with the ANC. But the same party did the same thing. So that party doesn't resonate with voters because they betrayed their voters, the people who voted for them. The people who voted for them didn't want them to side with the ANC, but then that's what they did. At least the DA mentioned that they will not rule out siding with the ANC. But then the actually they did say specifically that they will not vote with the ANC, and that's what they did. It's on in Johannesburg. Yeah. So the problem in this country that we have is not our democracy. We have a perfectly working democracy. It works. But the problem is the parties in that democracy. They are shit. And I've heard this before that South African politics is like picking a flavor of poison. Whether you pick lemon, blueberry, or whatever, or strawberry, or whatever. South African politics is like choosing a flavor of poison. Pick your poison. And it doesn't have to be that way. We need better parties. That's my opinion. We need better parties. And the parties that we currently have are all bullshit. The DI is also a bullshit party, if we are being honest, because why isn't the DA changing its leadership to actually reflect the demographics of South Africa? Because if the DA really wants to govern South Africa, they would actually change their leadership. Because there's no point actually keeping your leadership white if you want to govern a black country. It's like people don't understand. It's like white people also don't understand that South Africa is a country that is 80% black. And that number is growing and will get to 90% at some point. If you want to govern that country, those black people will must want you to govern that country. You will never govern this country if the black people don't want you to govern. And let me put this and let me put it this way so you understand. If all white people in South Africa, colored people and Indian people vote for one party, that party will still not be government if the black people don't want that party to be government. But if all black people vote for one party, that party would be government. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the numbers, the white vote, the Indian vote, and the colored vote put together is no match for the black vote. That is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to govern this country, you must step into what's going to get you to Pretoria, and that is the black vote. And that is not, and that is something that you're not doing as the DA. So if you want to really tap into the black vote, you need to make sure that the black people want you to govern. And they will not want you to govern if your leader is white. Let me put it that way. They will not want you to govern if your leader is white. Or if the majority of the people in the leadership positions are white, because South Africans vote on the racial lines. And the DI as a party should know that South Africans vote on the racial lines. This bullshit, fine, it's not bullshit, but then this delusion of saying non-racialism is bullshit when it comes to politics in South Africa. That won't send you far. You can do whatever you can advertise Cape Town and say Cape Town is well run, Cape Town is the best run city in South Africa. But if there's no change in your leadership, you will never govern South Africa with a 50 plus one majority. I'm telling you that. And that is why I'm saying the DI is oblivious to that fact and they don't want to accept that fact. So that is why we need a new party, a black led party, which is going to advocate for those policies, those market orientated policies, which will bring the growth needed in this country. And to conclude, I would like to say that the problems we have in South Africa are dire, and we have three main problems. The first problem is that we have an evil, corrupt, and incompetent government. The second problem is that we have no clear alternative. We have no black led party which can serve as an alternative to the current establishment. And the third problem that we have is ignorant citizens who are oblivious to the facts and don't know what is happening in their country and at the top level of their government. They don't know. Those are the three problems that we have. Obviously, to fix the first problem, you need to actually get an alternative. You need to get an alternative party which will be able to replace the ANC should the ANC be voted out. And also, if you educate the people about what's happening. But then if you educate the people about what's happening, they're going to ask you a question. They're going to ask you, so if you remove the ANC, what do we vote for? Who do you vote for? And that's the problem. People will not vote for the DA. I'm telling you, because the DA is a white party. It represents the interests of those white people who wants to really, you know, control South Africa, make sure that the black people don't take their out. Yeah, so they represent that school of thought. So that's the problem. Those people, the people will ask you who do you vote for, and there's no alternative. They are justified to ask that question because there's no clear alternative. They don't see a party that they can vote for. And until we can get an alternative to the ANC, which will really challenge the ANC at a large scale, a party which will actually, a black lead party, which will actually challenge the ANC with new policies, new market oriented policies, which can get this economy growing. A party which is funded by black people and voted by white people and can say, you know, this party can get South Africa vote. We will, we will stuck we will get stuck in this limbo of saying the ANC is what, the ANC is what, but then the ANC will still remain the largest party. If the ANC doesn't remain the largest party, but what will happen is that other parties, the splinters of the ANC, the MK party and the EFF, those parties are going to grow and they will contribute to that. They will contribute being the largest parties in that voting bloc of the socialist bloc that I spoke about. And That's no change. That's no change because these parties advocate for the same thing that the ANC advocates for. So the ANC plus MK and the EFF is the ANC. MK plus EFF is the ANC. ANC plus MK is the ANC. These parties are the same. So you need an alternative to that school of thought, to the socialism school of thought. You need an alternative to that. And currently there is no black alternative to that school of thought. We have come to the end of our video. Please like and subscribe. Your likes and your subscription really help to keep us on air because they motivate me and other content creators like I to really carry on making videos to inform you, the public, about what's happening in this country. Stay sharp and stay away. Thank you.